Hi everyone, my name's Anna Marie. Welcome to Card Making Project 550. Woohoo! Now I've got to say every project that we do is special. However, I'm not doing a special video for this one. We'll do something for the 600 maybe and try and think of something off the top of my head for that. It's a shame it wouldn't be at Christmas the 600 because the gag reel would have been a great one for that. I don't want to keep it for the 600. We'll still have that at Christmas. Might be quite short because surprisingly enough, when I've cut all the bleeping out, you know, there's not that many gags. I'm sure my friend Carla will be laughing anyway. Today's card, even though this isn't a great special video, it's a beauty and it shows a different way to use your embossing folders, and there's two different ways in this video, one for the inside and one for the outside. Please don't get strung up if you haven't got the exact embossing folders that I use. It still could be done with other frame embossing folders, and you could even maybe use a die for it if you've got one of the Anna Griffin frame sets, because it would easily adapt. It's just the techniques, I think, for this one, and it's just great ideas. Plus also, for anybody that has lots of leftovers from card making kits, if you've got flower stickers left over, this is a good one to show you how to use them in a different way, and you don't have to use all the same flowers. So if you've got oddments, this might help. Everything I do use I should put in a detailed list on my blog, so please be sure to check it out. There's also all the photos of not only the outside but the inside as well. So it's nice to have a look on the blog from time to time, because maybe you've missed a few projects. There's always all the photos and there's always the details on there for you to be able to catch up with. Please give me the thumbs up on YouTube if you've seen the video. If you've enjoyed it, leave me a comment, feel free. You can always contact me on Facebook, and I just want you to enjoy the videos and enjoy the tutorials and the different techniques that we use and get the best out of our supplies. So without further ado, sit back, relax, and let's have a look at project number 550. For today's project, we're going to be using one of the embossing folders from the lace embossing folder set that also had the lace border dies to match. We're going to be using the crocheted lace embossing folder. Now, this is a beautiful embossing folder that gives you the embossed frame for a 7x5" card. We're not using any dies, and it's going to be a nice, quick, easy card. And I think you'll like the techniques because it isn't just straightforward embossing. I'm using a base card which is with one of the Anna Griffin Pretty Patterns 7x5" cards, and I've chosen a green one following on from our project last week, using our green things, and I think they're all pretty. I do have favourites which, you know, I shouldn't have, but I don't have any that I dislike, so put it that way. So they're all my favourites really. So I've chosen one of the green patterns, and even though it is from Anna Griffin, I am going to use my bone folder to make sure I've got a nice sharp crease along the edge of the card. The back of the card has the handmade by. I've added my name and the project number 550. Woohoo! So finally we've got to 550. I'll do something special when we get to 600. So I've added my name so that anybody who gets this card will know that I've made it. So we're going to start with the inside first, and I think the inside of this is just, it's a great technique and something a little bit different. I want a base paper for the inside, and this could be any paper whatsoever. I'm actually using one of Anna's very much older designs. Just something I had in my scrap box, and I thought, you know what, that's going to work perfectly. So it could be anything. I've cut it 1/4 inch smaller so that I've got just a border around the edge. My next layer, I've taken a piece of ivory cardstock and I've used the embossing folder And then I've trimmed it down. And I've trimmed it down to 6 by 4 inches, approximately. Probably more like 6.5 by 4.5. I've trimmed it down and then I've inked it. And then I've taken it back through the die cutting machine. And it's flattened it down, but it's picked up the detail of the ink on the embossing. So it's kind of like flatter. It's not as flat as I would have liked, but you still could write over it. But you've got the sense for writing. I've got flat tape on the back. So when I say flat tape, it's double-sided adhesive tape. It could be any tape. It could be, you could use your Xyron, you could use a tape runner, you could use wet glue if you prefer. It could be anything. I just say I've got flat tape because that's what I use. So I'm going to pop this into the centre of our insert and press it down. And it's rouged up a little bit, only because we took it through the die cutting machine to flatten it. So it's kind of like stretched it out again, because it stretches the fibres to emboss, and then to press it down it stretches them flat again. So it just gives a little bit of a ruffle finish. But it's nothing that, you know, that you still can't write over, and it still looks great. Now I'm going to add a sentiment and a flower, and this is a flower from, well, it could be any flower. These are flowers that I've had left over. And you know how I said I've used scrap paper for the back? Well, this kind of like is one of those things you could use all the scrap to make this. So this flower was being left over from a previous card making kit. I've peeled the back of it away, and I'm simply going to just pop it at the bottom like that. And then I've got a sentiment from my favourite sentiment stickers, and I've simply got tape on the back. I've taken the top layer off, actually. In fact, it was the bottom layer. So it's not 3D anymore. So this part wasn't a sticker, so to speak. You could use any of your sentiments you've got left over from your die cut packets when you've bought some of your vintage die cuts. The treillage springs to mind with the gold wording and different shapes. So I'm just going to add that at the bottom. So it just says happy birthday. And that is our sentiment, our insert finished. And so it looks, I think that looks really professional and very different. It's going to work really well with the front of the card as well. So there's enough room there for a little message and your to and your from, etc. And it adds the interest because it looks like we've got a lot of texture going on there, but we haven't. So now we can turn our attention to the front of the card. Use my bone folder again, just for the edge. And when I said this is quick and easy, it really is from now. For the first and only layer, I've taken one of the metallic 7x5 layers from Anna. I've embossed it, and I've cut out the centre from the embossing folder. You remember how it's got a centre? I've taken the centre away, and then I've just taken an ink pad around the edge and given it a little bit of ink in a pink colour, could be any ink, and then I've heat embossed it. So where the ink is around the edge, I don't know if it's picking up just a little bit of a shine where I've used the clear embossing powder. Now, because I've only inked the edge and I haven't done all of it, when I've embossed it, it hasn't heat embossed it everywhere because it's only gone where the ink is. So it just gives it a little bit of a shine and something different. I've got 3D foam on the back, and I'm simply going to just position this over the front of my card. I'm going to press that down, so it's kind of like a frame from a frame, like so. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some flowers. I've got 4 flowers, 2 different kinds of flowers. These are all stickers that I've had left over from different card making kits. So it shows that it doesn't have to be 4 the same. It could be all different. And I'm simply going to add them in the corners, and then opposite each other, like so. And then the final one in the far corner, like that. There we go. Something a little bit different. Now the centre, I've got a different sticker again, and this is the same rose from the inside. So again, could be any of your leftovers, and I'm just going to pop that through the centre in the middle of the frame. I've taken a sentiment from my favourite sentiment stickers collection from Anna Griffin. I'm going to peel the back of that away, and I'm going to add that just underneath our rose that's in the centre. There we go. And then I've got a little green bow to go underneath the sentiment, and that is our card finished. How pretty is that? And it's just such an easy card to make. Stands up nicely, she says. Stands up nicely. Will go on any mantelpiece. Not a lot of layers at all. And I would say that will go in a normal envelope. Obviously dependent on where you're posting it. It's going to depend on your price that you pay, etc. But what a great idea to use a lot of those flowers up that you have from previous card making kits, and maybe you've just got one of this and one of that. It would work with so many of the flowers that Anna's had in her collections. And it's just, you know, a good idea for the embossing folders for using them in a slightly different way. And I do hope you've enjoyed watching. I hope it's given you a few ideas. You could use many different colours, many different card bases, and it's just something a little bit different. I do hope you've enjoyed watching, and please give me the thumbs up if you have. Check my blog out. All the ingredients for everything that we use is on there, and there's so many other projects. There's 550 now, if this is 550. So please check some out, and I love hearing from you. And I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I shall see you next time.